Well, partner, we're back again with another podcast, getting ready to talk to some great people about what's going on in our community. That partnership we always talk about in our police department with our traffic unit.
Yes. We have a really good traffic unit. The county's really big with 440 square miles.
Yes.
And, over 1 million visitors to the county each day. Our roads are busy.
Right.
Our roads are really, really busy. And this is a unique podcast because it not only focuses on our citizen and visitor safety,
right,
but also another aspect of one of our 28 specialized units that our officers can aspire to be a part of.
Exactly.
And it's multifaceted unit. It's not just one aspect of the unit.
Right. Let's jump right in.
Let's get in hot.
Yeah, let's go in hot and then talk to, let's introduce some of our guests. Our lieutenant want to talk about, Jim, do you want to talk about what's going on in your unit? And about you first. How about that?
Jim Prafita, got here in 96. Had a blessed career with patrol. I used to love doing traffic and DUIs back in the day on midnights. And I had a blessed career getting a sergeant. And I ran 4 years in traffic as a traffic sergeant, which really gave me a passion. Most of the fatalities that happen needlessly in Chesterfield County occur on our roadways.
Right.
So it gives you a passion to make sure that you get out there and the right folks get out there to make sure that we make our roads safe. And once again, blessed to come back to Special Operations Division to be the lieutenant and have the traffic section and the set section, our special enforcement team, which does do traffic as well from time to time to make sure that we keep our roads safe.
Okay. Now, prior to going back from patrol to being a sergeant in patrol, then working with the crash team and all, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Where were you? Did you work for any other units?
Yeah, I got to go to investigations for a little bit, persons, went to property, did some economic crime. Got to go to Vice as 4 years as the lieutenant over there, fabulous job. And like I said, came back over. I was admin lieutenant for a little bit and also did some school safety, which was
So
fun.
you're getting a lot of experience throughout the department to
Right.
make you better for just to be
how to
able
use our resources to make the road
exactly,
safe.
Exactly.
Yep. And it's my niche. Been to crash team school too.
Yep.
So I know what these guys are going through when we go to these crash team calls where people don't make it, unfortunately.
That's excellent.
Lieutenant, I know that you have also served in the military. We want to thank you for your military service while you've been an officer in the department. And what is your educational background?
Great education. So I was blessed with a scholarship to University of Richmond with a partnership with Chesterfield County. Got my bachelor's in HR with a minor in leadership from there. And then really blessed to go to VSU and be a Trojan for my master's.
Right.
And within the state university.
Classmates of yours.
Yes, we were.
My
Yes.
Trojan
Yes.
brother,
Yes.
yes. So grateful for that, and would have never had that opportunity had they not also offered the scholarship potential.
Exactly. That partnership, again, with our community and the police is not only in our community, but also with our colleges and universities in our community.
And they were ahead of the curve with getting community policing and getting policing known to the university way ahead of everybody else trying to get on board.
Awesome.
So next we have Master Officer Rob Wilson.
Yeah, so I grew up in Western New York. I came down here in 2014. I went to college up there at Fredonia State University. And
Did Elliot recruit you?
No.
He stays up there.
That was a few things. Wanted to come to Virginia. Chesterfield County had a lot to offer with the quality of the schools, parks, good place to raise a family, because I knew that was going to be important moving forward in a department that had multiple opportunities for me career-wise and personally. And then, so I worked patrol for 3.5 years, got a passion for traffic safety and really preventing fatal crashes that are occurring on our streets. Came to the traffic unit, I've been here ever since.
Okay. And how long have you been with the department?
8 years.
8 years. Awesome.
Let's not forget Officer of the Year.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's
Yes, thank
not
you.
an easy feat
Thank you.
to get out of 400 officers, rank and file officers that
Exactly.
qualify for that. And we do want to take time to acknowledge it. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Good for you. Well, let's jump right in it.
So, Lieutenant, tell us the makeup of your traffic safety unit.
Currently, we have 3 traffic officers, 4 motor officers, and our 2 new drug recognition experts, or DREs. They work evening shift and look after and into the nights doing DUI patrol and looking out for drug to driving as well.
Okay. So you have 3 motor units.
4.
And four motor units. And motors are motorcycles.
Motorcycles, right?
And what specifically can they do that cars can't do?
they get into places that
Yeah.
everyone knows where police cars sit. They can sit into driveways or other locations that are advantageous to speeding. And also, if we have accidents and crashes, they can go through traffic. Even now, we've even repurposed them. They're getting a rifle soon. And
Oh, wow.
they'll be able to get, when we have an event, let's say we have something horrible happening where traffic's backed up, they can get into places where officers can't quickly.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great tool for like the fireworks fair,
Right.
things like that. They can move through crowds, sidewalks, down the side of the road.
Wow.
And what type of, I know we're a 24-hour operation, so I assume that people in your unit must be on call for traffic fatalities or major crash investigations?
Someone is available 24/7, 365 for that. We have a team and a calendar for that, but we're also open for traffic enforcement from 6 in the morning until 4 in the morning.
Okay.
Most days.
Well, when you walk me through the training for traffic unit, not traffic, but your crash team and where the units that are on call 24 hours that coming out to fatalities. And
Let me
things.
defer to the expert. I'll go with
Okay.
Officer Wilson.
In order to be qualified to come to traffic, you have to take fundamentals of crash investigation. There's a series of courses series of 3 basic courses that build fundamentals, advanced, and then reconstruction school. They're all 2 weeks. And there's specialty schools you can take. So certain schools will specialize on motorcycle crash, bicycles, pedestrians, which is a prevalent thing that we have in the county, are pedestrian-involved fatalities. So specialty courses in that, or commercial motor vehicles. So it's a series of classes. Different members of the unit have different specialties. And,
okay.
Due to resources of training, so usually we try to have all the specialties covered within the unit. And then obviously there's overlap as well.
Okay.
And as a part of your training, we provide all that training. We don't expect our incoming employees to go out and seek that training on their own. You get selected, and then the department pays for you to get that training. Is that
That's
correct?
true. That's true. And there's also a great relationship with the Department of Motor Vehicles. DMV sponsors trainings every year that funds through their highway safety grant and all that for training courses to be offered. Lots of times the instructors come from Florida actually and come locally. And then the county also, the department will send us out of state even if they have to for certain trainings.
Okay.
Now, I know, Lieutenant, you said you have 2 newer positions, the 2 drug recognition experts? I
Correct.
believe is the
DREs.
title. Can you talk a little bit about that and what led you to incorporate that into our unit?
Well, as the state legalized marijuana, it was going to growing trend. If you look at what Colorado had and the huge influx of fatalities and crashes that they were occurring from drug related crashes, we needed to get on board with what the state has. So when you look at trying to recognize these things and have someone as an expert in court, it takes a lot of training.
Right.
So these guys went through a really long course to get to where they're at to be certified. They had like a 12-hour test at the end.
They had to go out of state, and then they got to do their observations,
Right.
which takes like 2 weeks.
It's like almost medical observations. They're going to hospitals, looking at people that are under the influence
Right.
and figuring out what they're on, and having experts sign off on them that they are accredited to recognize what drugs people are on.
And you said we have 2 officers that have been through the school.
We actually have more than that. I believe we have 4 officers that have graduated the school. We have 2 that are currently doing enforcement with us on the traffic team.
Wow.
And they work different hours.
Yes, they work 6 p.m. to 4 a.m., and then they also are on call and available if patrol recognizes a need. They can come out and assist. And actually, the department is moving forward with sending multiple more officers this year to the same training. So this is something that we're going to be expanding as a department and to fulfill that need, as he said, with increased drug driving offenses and crashes.
That's a lot.
We like to have one on each
Wow.
shift. So if you have someone that's drugged or they're just not looking correct and you can't put your finger on it, you can get someone up there to take a look at it and look at the telltale signs.
So let's talk about a couple of the numbers that I'm looking at here. I know that we do a lot of DUI enforcement. I see a lot of opportunities to work selective enforcement or grant-funded enforcement.
Yes.
And I'd like to see that. I mean, 25 years of doing this job, I've seen the negative effects of people drinking and driving.
Right.
But it looks like in 2021, we had almost 1,200 DUI arrests in Chesterfield County alone. Those are numbers that our department had. That doesn't include numbers that
State
police, the Game Commission, they've had ABC agents, other
Sure.
law enforcement organizations, federal, local, state, who work here in this area. That's 1,200 people arrested for DUIs.
Yes.
Do you want to speak a little bit about that, or your enforcement actions or activities with that, and how people can help reduce that number?
Well, obviously, don't drink and drive. We have Uber.
Right,
Uber will
exactly.
get you everywhere, or whatever ride service that you choose. It's silly this day and age that people are drinking and
Exactly.
driving, or even
Exactly.
drugged and driving. It's one of those things where it's avoidable. There's so many services out there that will give you a free ride home on the holidays, or whatever like MAD will do that, some
Right.
sponsor events, and people keep doing it over and over.
Personal choice. And,
Yeah.
10 years ago, Uber wasn't a thing, but, especially here in Chesterfield County, it's pretty, pretty developed area. You pretty much have Uber and Lyft, and among other organizations, they can get a ride home.
Right. Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a
that's
lot.
3 people a day
Yep.
Yeah.
being
So-
arrested for DUIs. In neighborhoods with children getting off with buses, and
Yep.
places of worship letting out. That is just a lot of people.
And the thing too is that a lot of people assume it's at night. Just the other day, one of our traffic officers stopped a car on Robius Road. Guy was 3 times the legal limit. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
So we're talking rush hour traffic, heavy, as you said. And actually, the facts of that case were astonishing. The individual was driving down the bike lane there on Robius Road, where you got the bike lane for the road bikers. And that was one of the parts of the premise for the stop, was the guy was driving down the shoulder, which is the bike lane there. Thank God there wasn't a bicyclist on the road.
Right.
3 times the legal
Yeah, the
limit.
highest DUI I ever had was on day work. It passed a school bus. That was the
Wow.
reason for the stop, and he was at .32.
So how are we getting our message out to inform the public that we're trying to prevent things from happening in our community? What are you all doing? What are we doing as a police department to bridge that gap there?
Besides stopping folks and writing them citations, we also write a lot of warnings. You can see that we wrote over almost 12,500 warnings. So we're not just being mean, but we want you to be aware
Sure.
that your driving matters,
Right.
your infraction matters. It didn't cause a crash or hurt somebody this time, but there's a great potential that it can. So if you don't stop that negative behavior, it's going to lead to something.
That, and in the last 2 years, we've really tried to branch out to community organizations in the media and pushing out more than just writing tickets, and that's a lot of people, but there's a lot more to traffic safety and awareness than that. And we've started the In Memory Of campaign, partnering with the media. And what we're doing is we're getting the stories, the families, the loved ones of the victims of these fatal crashes. And even had one of the individuals that was at fault for a crash participate and give his side, how the fact that he, in his case, was texting while driving and ultimately killed somebody. And he spoke about the impact of that and his message of, put the phone down when you're
Right.
driving. And so, multiple news organizations have shared those videos. We got stuff on YouTube. And then last year we had the billboards
Right.
that were
Right.
corresponding with that. In addition, we've done the high visibility enforcements, where we've partnered with Henrico County, Richmond, State Police, and we put out the media release. We're going to be doing enforcement on Hall Street Road due to Chippenham,
Right. Right.
And usually those are tied to our high crash intersections, our high crash roads, where we're seeing those fatalities. And just having a region-wide campaign of bringing awareness to the issues on these roadways.
Walk us through some of the new laws with texting and driving. I don't think we see that enough, because I can drive by even in a marked car and see people still doing the same old thing. Instead of having hands free, they're just texting.
Right. So 2 years ago, we had the text while driving law, and it was very specific. You couldn't text, you couldn't look at email, and so it was hard to understand for citizens to understand what they could or could not do on their phone while they were driving. It was hard for law enforcement to make enforcement action, because you had to be able to articulate what the person was doing.
And there was the navigation exception at that point.
As well, you also had a navigation point with GPSs. So recently, that has been clarified. The law now has been changed, and it states that an operator moving motor vehicle on a highway cannot hold a cell phone. So now, regardless of what you're doing on the phone, you cannot hold it while you're driving. GPS, anything besides calling 911. Even you can't hold it to even change your music.
Right.
It does not. Yeah, it does not matter what you're doing. And the reason behind it is no matter what you're doing on your phone, you're looking at it.
Right.
And
Right.
also you got to hand off the steering wheel. So your reaction time, if someone, a kid steps out in front of you, you're driving through a neighborhood, you're holding your phone, kid stops out in front of you, you got to be able to steer.
Right.
So
And I know most phones now, most smartphones, you can have them activated so when the vehicle is on and moving,
Right.
Yes.
it won't receive incoming
That's
text
right.
messages or things that
Yep.
it can distract. So parents have really got to
take advantage
dial
of
in
it.
and take advantage of that technology. It's there. It keeps your kids safe, and
Yes, absolutely.
you know.
Are we doing anything to educate our kids, young kids that are getting their driver's license, other than seeing the PSAs or seeing some of the things that we have advertised on the news? Are we going into the schools and talking to them?
So I do know there is a partnership with Project Impact, and they do prior to COVID, and it's all kind of trying to get back. They went virtual during COVID, so it took a different face. But moving forward, that's where they do the mock crash at the high schools, where they take the red cars. And they then at that point speak to the kids about the consequences of poor decisions, because it's that split-second decision that has caused catastrophic effects on the rest of your life and someone else's.
Yeah.
So I know, Lieutenant, you brought up. I'm going to go back to something you spoke about written summonses that last year in 2021, there were about 12,500 written warnings issued. Can you speak about the difference between written warnings and traffic summonses? Because traffic summons, we issued about 26,000. In addition to that, we had the 12,500 warning summonses. And I'm not familiar with other departments in this area who actually do warning summonses. Why are we doing that?
Well, it's a better way to communicate your message without, obviously upsetting your community. One of the things that we looked at was it depends on what you have. So if you're pulled over for speeding, you may get an offense for that if it's outrageous, but your inspection's expired. Here's a warning. Please take care of that, because safety of your vehicle is paramount as well. If your wheels fall off or whatever the situation is, or the tread on your tires is bad, that type of thing, to where you're looking out after people's safety and making sure that they're doing well. And it's nice not to get a ticket. That's the end goal, is just to communicate the message, not necessarily just we don't like writing tickets either. We'd rather have you just comply.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the issue with the traffic safety is exactly that. It's safety, reduction of loss of life or injury or a property damage. And we see a lot of that. I know when people first started hearing about the warning summons, they were really happy. They were really happy. We just want compliance.
Sure.
And then they don't have to pay a fine or mess up their insurance or any of those type of things. But 12,500 of them, that's a lot of work put in by the men and women of Chesterfield Police Department. We're talking 38,000 between the two issued in a one calendar year.
It's about 10% of the population.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a lot. Deaths and fatalities are something that you all deal with a lot, and our patrol officers do. It looks like in 2021 we had 995 injuries associated with crashes. That number is a lot, 1,000. And I don't know if they both attributed to speed or distracted driving, or could it be the sun coming up, or any number of things. But at the end of the day, that's almost 1,000. But unfortunately, 20 of those were fatalities.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about the length of time it takes to investigate a fatality, or some of these crashes and some of the challenges that you have in your unit of being successful?
Well, every crash is different, and the amount of time that goes into a case, it varies widely. Some cases are ones where it's 1 week or so, and then, some cases are, multiple officers working for a few weeks. We've had cases where, hit and run cases especially sometimes can be very manpower intensive, of tracking down the individual that was involved. And, some of them, like I said, can be very simple, but, everything from getting toxicology reports, cell phone data, interviewing places, friends of the people that were involved, and finding out where everybody was before the crash and where they were going, and
Search warrants.
Search warrants, a lot of search warrants, and finding that information. And with the increase of distracted driving fatalities, it's very labor intensive with getting the cell phone information figure out what the distraction may have been involved inside that car at the time of the crash.
And I know when Daryl and I were recruiting a lot,
Right.
we get a lot of questions about forensics.
Yeah.
And I think your answer was great for that, because I don't really think that most people are aware that you have to work with the private industry to sometimes
Yes.
solve these with cell phone companies. Your office will canvass an area to see if people have cameras in
Yes.
their businesses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we're very appreciative of businesses and homeowners who provide that
Sharing that, exactly.
information,
Yes.
sharing that information to bring resolution for a family. But it's a lot.
Yeah.
Paint chips off of vehicles and see what type of vehicle could this have possibly come from. So that's why it's sometimes delayed in making a proper assessment. It's not done overnight.
Absolutely. We had one case or we've used it in 2 separate hit and run cases, the microscopic paint chips in a pedestrian's clothing. And then the Department of Forensic Science can actually get us up to like 6 VIN places of the vehicle that was involved just based off of the tint.
Right.
Or the paint on the vehicle.
Wow. Coming up, prom season. I mean, that's
Every parent's worry.
Man, that's and it was mine. So I bring that up to say, are we? Usually, you see sometime at the courthouse, you see a vehicle parked there, a crashed vehicle or something parked there. What are we doing to get the awareness out about this is a time where kids are out doing things that they normally wouldn't do, hanging out, doing whatever. Are we sending a message out to them as a traffic unit or as a unit for the police department to our community about making sure our kids are safe?
When I was in school safety, typically we'd have the school resource officer
Okay.
speak to traffic safety during those times, and some of those schools would put a car out front so they could see a crashed car, what a crashed car looks like, to
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
that your actions have meaning and
Yes.
they could cause the death of your friends. I lost friends in high school
Yeah,
for poor traffic safety.
I have to.
Yep. And it happens to young people because they don't have the wisdom of the experience of driving that much. When a situation occurs, they weren't prepared for it. They weren't wearing their seatbelt, or the speed was too high.
Any message you would send to a parent if you were talking to them right now?
As every parent,
Yeah.
just make sure that you go over these things and make sure
Exactly.
they hear it and make sure they're listening to you, and that the importance of driving is, you're driving a gun essentially.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
use it safely.
That and the schools are, we're post-COVID in the sense of activities, and there's school-sponsored events that are, monitored before and after proms. I know, and law enforcement officers also work those. Schools have security there just
Yep.
to have the kids make wise decisions of where they're at that night. Post and pre-dance.
Yeah,
And I know there's apps on phones that parents
Sure.
can monitor the kid's
Yeah.
speed.
Absolutely.
So it'll tell the parent, like, hey, your kid is in a 55 zone, your kid is going 78,
Yeah,
or your kid
yeah.
is going 57.
Yeah.
You have to be active and be hands-on
Yeah.
and make sure you know who your kids are riding with, who they're hanging out with as much as
I just
possible.
always worried about this time of the year when the kids are getting close and that that spring weather is coming and they no prom is coming up and things of that sort.
Yeah, they have to be parents and not friends.
Sure,
And
sure.
that's the number one. When I gave my kids cell phones, it came at the precursor of these are my phones,
Mm-hmm.
and I monitor everything on them. So there was
Right.
no hidden or agenda on my part, but
Mm-hmm.
it was the safety, strictly for safety, for their safety, their whereabouts, and so that we could make sure that I was doing the right thing.
Awesome.
I know you all said something about number one traffic intersections, traffic crash in locations. Anything in particular that happens at those locations? Is it people trying to beat the light or not properly stopping or just distracted driving?
Combination of everything: speed, distracted driving. We have rear end crashes are common in intersections. Every day you hear
Right.
of the rear end crash. Well, there's a few things that go into a rear end crash. It's people being distracted, not paying attention to how
Right.
far the car out in front of them is, and then it's speed. And then you touched on earlier. You mentioned how many injuries there are. And to me that comes back to speed. No one like we said, nobody wants to get a speeding ticket, but if you're driving down the road and someone's going to rear end you and you're on a 45 zone, would you rather them strike the rear of your car at 45?
Right.
Or would you rather them hit you at 60, 65?
Right.
And you talk about the difference in injuries when, you're in a neighborhood or you're in a 35 zone and, what might have been a minor crash where maybe nobody even goes to the hospital. Now you've been rear-ended, 15, 20 over a speed limit, and now you're being transported and you have life-altering injuries for the
Right,
rest of your life.
right.
Or, a lot of people suffering brain traumatic injuries. And that's, the rest of your life, you're going to have the effects of that.
And let's not forget about following too close. People just don't give themselves enough
Right,
time
exactly.
to stop. They're
Yeah.
right on your
Reaction,
bumper.
yep, exactly.
They think that getting that close to you is going to help you speed up, but it only causes them to crash because they didn't have the reaction time.
Exactly.
So before we finish up,
We always do this.
we have great jobs here as Chesterfield
Yes.
County police officers.
Yes.
But we also have lives outside of work.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the stress of your job?
What's some of the activities to get you away from policing? Families, and I always say golf. I love to go out and try to play. So what are some of the things that you do to relieve you from the stress that we have in this job?
I love hanging out with my kids. We really enjoy on the weekends. I mean, we got the season passes to the zoo. So,
Oh, wow.
Go out there and just chill and relax. Just like you said, take the mind off the job. It's a little bit tougher in traffic. You're on call a lot, but just being able to just relax, be a dad. Be involved with my kid. So hopefully he makes wise choices when he's older.
Lieutenant?
Yeah, I like to travel and spend time with my wife and
good.
kids when we can. They're kind of grown up now, but I do everything from, one of the things as I've gotten older is try to take care of my body and exercise.
Sure.
So I try to run to get some of the stress off me. And it's come into play as I've gotten older. And then guys do everything from camping, building cars, you name it. They'll put their efforts and energy into projects that they like. They all have good hobbies. I always worry when people don't have hobbies, but everyone in traffic's got a hobby that they're interested in.
Awesome.
good.
Well, partner, again, it's always fascinating to talk to officers, and the things that we have in common is once we're off, we try to do things to ease that tension of being out with a stressful job.
Yes.
Family always plays a big role into our lives.
Absolutely.
Again, I do things with my church. I like to go out and just hang out with them and get away from the hustle and bustle, being I'm a retiree part-time police officer.
Right.
But again, I love being around family, and I say family in two ways. My immediate family and then my family of police officers.
Right.
And that's important that we do that.
Yeah, I want to thank Lieutenant Prafita and Master Officer Wilson for being here today. These are two, in my opinion, some of the highest stress jobs
Yes.
in the police department. You're
Yes.
dealing with death, you're dealing with families, you're dealing with emotions.
Yeah.
They don't, unfortunately, get to be on call when it's prime weather.
Exactly.
Regardless of snow, lightning, whatever the conditions are.
They were out in the rain.
They're out in the rain.
Yeah, 2
They're,
days
they're
ago.
out in the rain with people who are not happy that they have to
Sure.
sit there for an hour and get diverted and can't figure out how to get home. But at the end of the day, we're here to serve the public. And
Exactly.
part of that service
Exactly.
means that sometimes other people are inconvenienced.
We're just trying to keep awareness of what we're giving the community. You have some experts in doing the crashes and the things that are going on in our community, in our county, and we appreciate you guys. We
And I
appreciate it.
really think today's show helps our potential applicants
Yes.
see that this is another aspect of policing that they also can aspire to. And it's,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
the unit is bigger. We have an aviation section. They
Yep.
have a lot of other sections under this one unit, but this is one portion of the of Lieutenant Prafita's responsibility.
Yes. Keeping the community safe.
So I'd like to remind our potential applicants you can go to joinccpd.org to apply for a police position. Also, you can find us on social media. If you have any concerns or comments or questions for the department, feel free to reach out to our social media specialist or go on to ccpd.org, and we have a contact information there.
Exactly. And we're looking forward to hearing from our community and the recruiters that want to come to Chesterfield County Police Department. Thank you.
And also, before we close, I want to thank Chris Rizzuti and Lena Dooley for doing all the behind-the-scenes thing. You don't hear them, don't see them, but they are the ones making it happen.
They
for
make it
us.
work, brother.
Absolutely. Have a good
Awesome.
day.